You can I mentioned you in our Blue Sky post, so you could go to notifications and
real quick
repost it. Yeah.
Let's
Hello.
not call it speeding. Let's really not.
Nah, it's fine. It's whatever.
See, even the app says repost.
Okay, repost. Yeah.
Repost.
Hello, welcome to Ludonarrative, our monthly live stream for February 2025, and we're here to talk about RPGs and those things in and around RPGs. So with me is James Wallace. Hello, James.
Hey.
And Greg Stolze. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I entered the stream for this, it captured a single frame to use as my avatar. And I don't know if you listeners at home and viewers at home can see it, but I look stupider than I ever have. It's amazing. I kind of want to capture this and just have it for God knows what purpose, but just the pure image of me as gormless fool.
I have a picture like that. I call it a mirror.
Hey, but we won't be here all week, but you know.
I probably will.
We'll be here all hour.
Yeah. So, and of course, if you're listening to this on our podcast, because we do put these on our podcast feed. Hello, and we first off, we want to talk. Greg, you have a thing that you're working on.
I have a thing that I'm working. Well, it's a project that I started long ago and have now decided to serialize and release, and it's called The Moon Silver Crown. It's a giant fantasy epic. And so if you're familiar with my work, the idea of a high fantasy working on things is a mistake, but I can't stop. I get these ideas and they need to crawl out of me. So yeah, it is about a royal family. You've got this country that is ruled by a death cult that worships this lunar goddess, and the royal family is a matriarchal priestess caste. The queens are all the high priestesses of the cult of lunar death, and they are our protagonists. These are the good guys, is the death cultists. And and what they believe in is, you should live your life to the fullest, but no further. And if you're undead and stealing life from the world around you to unnaturally prolong your existence, well, that's bad. And they've also got a giant problem on the northern border. And so the way I've been releasing this, the whole thing is written, and I am chopping it up into small bits between 1,500 words and like 3,000. It's and someone I know who has done successful fantasy serials is like, yeah, that's the sweet length. That's the length that people can read on their phones without their thumbs wearing out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm selling them for $1 and releasing them twice weekly. So yeah, if you have any questions about this piece of work that I'm super pleased with, I'm very proud of The Moon Silver Crown, and it's one of these stories about civilizations in upheaval and decay, like the Borgiou stories I've been releasing. I something about civilizations in upheaval and in upheaval seems to put me into high fantasy mode, or vice versa, because that's where my muse is dragging me these days.
And if somebody signs up to become a patron, will they get all the stories?
They get all of them going forward. So this is clearly the best deal. In addition, if you sign up as a subscriber for cash, You get all the Moonsilver Crown chapters that come out. Plus, every month I put out a fresh new short story. And me being me, they're often not that short. So that's how I released Medusa's Weekend, in which Medusa and Santa Claus fight Baba Yaga. Spoilers. But it's still super fun and worth reading. That's how I released The Elites, a story about the cool kids at high school who are psychic and fighting monsters and doomed. So yeah, been having fun with it.
Nice. So cool. So go to gregstolze.com if you want to do that. Here's a link to the sort of landing page for the Moonsilver Crown.
Actually, that's the pre-landing page because I'm not good at things. It would be.
Okay.
I put it in.
Okay. Yeah, this one.
That's the one.
All right.
You get the full. That I was fortunate enough to hire Heather Hudson to do the art for it, and I'm super stoked. So cool. Yeah.
Cool. It is a very nice picture. Very reminds me of Majora's Mask, the evil moon. So cool. Yeah. So check that out. And Greg sort of rolled your own subscription service instead of using Patreon. You moved off of Patreon.
I did.
Yeah.
It felt like it was shitifying. It felt like I was going to be paying more and more for less and less.
Fair enough. And for a podcaster, I it has a lot of features that are very unique, so I still use it. But yeah, for a fiction writer, I can understand the values may not necessarily be there. So everyone has a different solution. So I've opened all 3 links as a treat for later. Yay. But Greg, you also had an idea for the first topic for us to talk about,
yes.
Which is Going for Broke, a sitcom game about making rent.
We have a question. Plans for more in the Ninky Onk Pragta world? Yes. I am getting ready to kickstart the next one of those probably next month.
Oh, so cool.
It is. Yes, it's called The School Who Flew. And if I was slightly more organized, I would be able to wave a completed zine of it right now, but they're all downstairs.
Well, alas, for another time. So
yes, but Going for Broke. So I have fond memories of playing and talking about The Quiet Year, which is Avery Alder's Alder,
I believe.
Alder. Yeah. Avery Alder's game of sort
map
of
making.
Yeah, map making in the post-apocalypse. And this I feel confident in saying this has a different tone. This is a sitcom simulator, and you can, if you go to this page, you can click and read the rules for it, because to play it you need, it comes with cards, and the cards are the killer app part, I guess. So I read the rules, and
it is a fast-paced game. Choose your roommate, jump into your ill-conceived plot, and try to get that coin. It's about making rent. 48 players, 45 to 75 minutes, and it uses 12 character cards, each representing a potential roommate in the house. Choose your roommate, choose an episode, premise, and dive in. So structurally, it reminds me of the new edition of Fiasco a little bit. The card-based mechanics and the improv storytelling mechanics. And yeah, it's it's got a little things in here.
It looks pretty sweet. I mean, it's highly structured improv, but makes the proviso very early on that you don't have to be funny. In fact, you shouldn't try to be funny. You should try and play your character, and the characters, I am suspecting, because I haven't read them all, are arranged in such a way that they will bounce off each other in interesting and amusing ways, and the humor will generate itself as a result of playing. At the same time, the thing about so many humor games is that they are funny while you are playing them for the people who are playing them. If you were to record it and play it to anyone else, they would not find it funny. The reason that so many of the podcasts and the actual plays work is these people are trained in improv. They are trained in making you laugh. That is part of their job. And that is how they are able to do that. It's got some really nice stuff. There's a randomizer that involves flipping a coin, but it's integrated in a really clever way. It's not simply a binary coin flip. It's a way of sealing off particular paths that the plot might follow. What it reminded me of, actually, from a couple of years ago, is Yazabah's Bed and Breakfast, which came out of Possum Creek.
Yeah.
And of course, the big news of Possum Creek is that they've been picked up by Steve Jackson Games, who will be I don't know if SJG is going to be publishing them, but certainly will be distributing them, which I'm hoping, because if you are a small press, the amount of time you have to spend in distribution and shipping and all of that is a nightmare. That was one of the main reasons I gave up Hogshead in the early 2000s, my publishing company, is simply because I had set up this company to publish my own game designs, and I was spending most of my time not doing the stuff I was good at, which is putting books together, and doing the stuff that I am decent but not great at, which is business admin and sales and marketing and all the rest of that.
That is super relatable.
So
that
if you can get a company, a good-sized company like Steve Jackson to do that, fantastic. I'm digressing.
No, I feel like that is 100% relevant to the concerns of our listeners, James. I mean, this is how the sausage gets made. This is how your favorite game designer winds up not designing games.
Absolutely. And it is one of the things, Kickstarter will not do your marketing for you, but if you take part in Zine Quest, and Going for Broke is part of Zine Quest, then that will do a degree of marketing to you. If you do not see yourself as a games publisher, but somebody who occasionally publishes games, if you see the difference, then if you do a game and then you pause and there's no continuity and then you do another game, which is not what Avery does, but it is what a lot of zine people do, then yes, that's a valid model. That works.
One point of this is not it's a backer kit campaign, so it is not Zine Quest.
Okay, Zine Month. Then
and it's technically it's not a zine since it's a deck of cards, technically. But yeah,
so I have literally, Sarah has seen this. I have in the last few days written a column for a magazine going, love Zine Quest, Zine Month does fantastic things. The outpouring of creativity. They're not zines. Please stop calling them zines because zines are periodicals, and that's where the word comes from.
Okay,
these are they're chapbooks essentially.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is
semantics.
Semantics. I mean,
this is a hill you're gonna die on, James. It is gonna take you a long time to die, and it will hurt.
Magazines. When you start a column in a magazine, they give you a ring of resurrection that brings you back every month, 6 hours before your deadline, and you have to pump something out. I feel it's. I'm going to digress because it's interesting. Somebody on the Discord was saying just a few hours ago that the history of the industry stuff. There are books out there, but a lot of them are very dry, and there are a lot of kind of inside baseball, and they don't really get into. For me, the stuff that's really interesting, but the thing I've realized in the last month is how much of the industry came out of zines originally. I mean, it's well known, and if you've read the latest version of John Peterson's Playing at the World, which is the early history of D&D, how much Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson cut their teeth and learned their trade writing for fanzines in the late 60s and early 70s, designing, here's the latest bit of my naval war game rules, going out to 40 people. But like the Lou Reed record, like the Velvet Underground record, all those 39 of those people will write back and go, you've got it wrong. It's too complex. And the other half going, it's not complex enough. And someone going, why aren't there Vikings in there? There's always someone who goes, why aren't there Vikings? So Gary Gygax and Arneson, that's well known. What I hadn't realized, what I've kind of vaguely realized, Games Workshop came out of a fanzine, a thing called Owl and Weasel that Ian Livingston and Steve Jackson put together partly as a catalogue for the
Wait,
games.
which
that they
Steve
distributed.
Jackson? British Steve
British Steve
Jackson or
Jackson.
Americans? Okay.
British Steve Jackson. But before that, Ian Livingstone was writing and drawing covers for a diplomacy fanzine called Albion, run by a chap called Don Turnbull. Don Turnbull is interesting for two things. One, he came up with the monster mark. Possibly people go, oh, that goes overcomplicated. Monster mark is 5 pages of how you gradiate how dangerous D&D monsters are. It was in a very early issue of White Dwarf. Largely on the back of that, Don Turnbull then ran TSR UK for many years and was lovely. Was just a brilliant person, exactly the right person to be doing that. So a lot of the Games Workshop, that part of Games Workshop comes out of fanzines, but at the same time, Brian Ansell, who set up Citadel with Games Workshop, was also running a fanzine up in Nottingham called Troll Crusher, and this was more of an apper. Anyone could send in pages for it, and they would just be published as part of the zine. And you get people like Jez Goodwin, who goes on to be one of the major creatives in the early days of Games Workshop, Richard Halliwell, who created Space Hulk, and wrote Warhammer. The guy who wrote Warhammer was an early contributor to Troll Crusher, and arguably how Brian Ansell first got in contact with him. Possibly Ansell, they're both dead, so we'll never know.
You must be familiar with Alarms and Excursions.
I have written for Alarms and Excursions.
Okay,
very briefly.
same.
But yes, I mean appers and zines and all of that. So much of the early days of the history and people of the industry and people cutting their teeth and learning their trade, not by publishing an entire fanzine or an entire book themselves, but by just doing, here's an article on generating, new monsters. For everybody writes new monsters. As we've said before, Charles Stross, major Hugo-winning science fiction author, first published work, New Monsters for D&D, in White Dwarf magazine in the very early 80s.
Oh,
the Githyanki,
in the balls of the Mountain King?
I was looking for the early issues of Troll Crusher. So
wow, look at those staples.
Yeah, exactly.
Serious staples.
I think it's in the halls of the Mountain King, by the way.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, sorry, I just wanted to give like a visual reference to like the level of production value.
With zine culture are you with zines of the 70s and 80s? Are you really, Ross?
That's fair. Yeah.
Someone asking, does this kind of collaborative zine making still meaningfully exist in TTRPGs? I'm not sure. Yeah, there are fanzines out there. The production values are way higher because, as I said in my column, I think it used to be you'd either acquire your 30 quid manual typewriter or you'd borrow one, bash out some stuff, convince a friend to draw some stuff, and then
you would do the punk rock photocopier collage thing.
Yes, or trace some stuff. God, I traced some stuff. And then you would run off a few copies on your office or your school copier, which might not be a photocopier because this was the 70s or the early 80s. Usually without permission. So yeah, and these
Ross,
days
can you find mimeograph for the kids who have never seen it?
Oh, mimeograph, yeah.
Mimeograph Gestetner. There's spirit duplicators, though I don't know if anyone ever actually used a spirit duplicator to do a fanzine. That was the purple one that smelt of, I can't remember what it's. I could identify that smell at 20 feet these days, but I can't remember.
The old.
I thought the mimeograph was the smelly purple one.
No, that is a spirit dupe. This is the Gestetner, or better known as this is the wax stencil one.
Yeah,
the one you've got up there.
This is an older. Yeah, I'm just pulling up. This is just a Wikipedia article. So yeah. 1918 illustration or photo. Yeah. So
it would be hard to get one of those to work today because you have to type onto a wax. Actually, you don't have to. We used to type. Instead of paper, you have this wax stencil. And as you type on it, the typing punches through the wax paper. And then you take that finished thing, you can draw directly on it as well, and you stretch it over an inked drum, which then rotates, often literally handheld, and paper goes through.
I remember how the original the Pagan Publishing, the thing that started Pagan Publishing, the Unspeakable Oath.
Yes.
Like the really, really, really early Unspeakable Oaths were probably photocopied, right?
Let's take a
I
look.
would guess, yeah. Because
I just remembered
that's late 80s, early 90s, and photocopying was more widely available and cheaper by that point as well.
I remember Tynes complaining about having to assemble them all by hand and just walking around the table, putting the pages down.
Yeah. So a little. Here we go. Here's a collection of them.
Oh man, is that the late Blair Reynolds?
Yeah, I think so. Here is issue number 1. Photos of it. Yeah, just pretty classic zine production value. I mean, a little better than Troll Crusher.
Yeah, I would say considerably better than most of the zine. I mean, they had Blair Reynolds. They had Blair fucking Reynolds.
Yeah. They had
and then later,
amazing congregation of talent on that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because it always gave the impression that they knew what they were doing already. They didn't. I mean, I don't often tell people the name of my first fanzine because it is so embarrassingly bad. But I was learning my trade. I was learning how to put written articles together, and then off the back of that, I started my second one, which was Sound and Fury, which is, you know, which people still bring me copies of to sign from time to time.
People don't want. I think people who aren't creative don't want to know about the first pancakes, right? The bad stories you wrote and never showed anybody, the crap poetry that you threw in the fire, rightly so. The the first role-playing game design I did wasn't that great or original or innovative, people.
Unless you're Terry Pratchett, because people have collected Terry Pratchett's very early, not very good short stories because he's Terry Pratchett, and that stuff will sell.
I mean,
none of us are Terry Pratchett.
That's like Go Call a Watchman, you know, the woman who wrote, or the other book written by John Kennedy O'Toole, which was you know, his first book. His unpublished first novel got published because of the John Kennedy O'Toole, you know, situation. And
so I do like this comment. Next time I'm writing it by hand and then tracking down a photocopy. I mean, that kind of gimmick would actually work.
That would.
This does just tie into. You didn't ask me what I've been doing lately, and the answer is I've been pitching stuff. But one of those pitches, and I can't tell you what I'm pitching for, but I'm considerably hyped about this. It's an 80s nostalgia brand. So, and one of the things we are proposing is doing it possibly in an 80s style. So the pitch, which may mean we have to do the entire RPG that way, the entire pitch is typed on a manual typewriter. Jesus Christ, I haven't used one of those in about 40 years, and I do not want to have to use one again. But the logo is hand traced in felt tip, and all the headings are done with lettering transfers, which I was able to find. I was thinking, where am I going to find lettering transfers? And the answer is my local stationers, who are selling them for 99p each.
Sure.
Because no one else wants to buy them, because why would you these days?
Oh, so, there you go, James. Get you a 40-graph. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds like you want one.
No, 40-graph. That's Australian. Hold on.
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah.
Oh yeah, having that shipped from Australia would totally be worth the massive amount of money that it would cost, and your wife would be like, "Oh, honey, I love you, and this is why I married you."
Yeah, sorry, 40-graph is a spirit duplicator, which is the one I was talking about, which certainly in my was used at the school I was at in the late 70s to produce handouts, handwritten.
Okay, so your 80s thing, I gotta ask, as a child of the 80s, is this real 80s, which had a ton of 70s stuff and the hovering feeling of nuclear doom at every second? Or is it pop culture 80s where girls just want to have fun and big hair and leg warmers?
I would say, I mean, photographs and spirit duplicators, it's very 70s, and it's a very distinctive chunk of the 70s, and it's not something I've seen referred to elsewhere. It uses a gelatin sheet. I'm not quite sure of the process, but I think there's an alcohol involved as well to transfer images, often handwritten, onto sheets of paper. The reason I don't think they're referred to very much, and also, Sarah, one of the reasons why you may not have come across them, is because those images fade. They do not last. Two of the 80s equivalent is printing on thermal paper, for anyone who remembers this. A bunch of
thermal
early
paper. I'd forgotten I'd shoved it down in a deep hole in my brain and rolled shame on the top, and you've dug it up, James. Thermal paper.
Yeah, it was the thermal paper. It was literally, it used heated printhead to impose dot matrix letters on thermally treated paper, and it was pretty sharp. The only trouble is, even if you keep it out of sunlight, I've got stuff somewhere. It's gone. It just fades out.
All right, how much are they asking for? Is the Fortiograph for sale?
This is for a museum.
This is like
it's a museum. It's at the Health Museum of South Australia. It's in Adelaide, Australia. So next time I go visit Adelaide, James, I'll let you go. I'll go take a photo for y'all.
So if you want that, James.
I'm tempted.
I do like the idea of like making unusual, like the RPG, a physical, interesting artifact, an art object in itself. There's an example recently I saw on Blue Sky that I will link right now for a mothership module. These are not space rations. They are vacuum sealed space RPGs. The Outer Rim, Uprising, Insurgent bundled here. So basically they did like, this is like a vacuum sealed ration, but it's an RPG. And I think that's open here. So
I mean, I've seen RPGs packaged in here's what you want for your 80s vibe RPG, James. Package it in a VHS tape box.
Oh, people have done that. Yeah.
Oh, it's been done. Heavy Gear. The original Heavy Gear was in a VHS box.
There have been a couple of RPGs that have been in VHS boxes. And
there's actually the 80s nests.
Being a fan of Vaporwave, people have made visual albums and put them on VHS tape to sell. There's a whole thing. Like, there's actually a whole scene for VHS glitch art, like using the distortions and physical glitches that VHS VCRs create. And incorporating that into your artwork.
Oh, that's your boy Trevor who did the cover of
Trevor
Henderson.
The analog horror thing. But
I love his stuff.
Oh yeah, so do I.
It's
but we should look at like how zines are now. We mentioned earlier the zine quest.
I mean, as the zine turned into the blog, didn't it? But
pretty much, the web killed a lot of them. And discussion boards as well.
I mean, it's
online, like being able to talk to people who weren't in the same town as you.
But so Zine Quest right now is going on in February. Zine Quest month on Kickstarter, and there are 1,786 projects right now, according to that. And there's a wide variety. You know, one thing I think is like the old zines were structured after magazines, right? Or at least these RPG ones were like Troll Crusher and Speak Below, where it would be monthly or bi-monthly, would be an ongoing thing with ongoing series. But the zine now is like more like you said, a chat book where it's a smaller project, but this one grabbed my interest. Hopefully this is not AI generated artwork, but the Doomed Stronghold, and we have it looks very well designed, at least aesthetically. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna go to the end. Does it have AI stuff in it?
Yeah, look for the AI mark of shame.
Yeah, AI. No mention of AI. So
you have to say now.
Yeah. These do look like they took old paintings and photoshopped them,
which is fine.
Yeah. So this is the zine now. It's like a chapter of a larger RPG book or something. It's like a very focused thing. It's not like here's our letters to the editor, here's our little article about this or that, and we'll just
here's why I hate Brad. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Here's how Brad did me dirty this month, guys. You're not gonna believe this.
Yeah. So it's taken off. It's become its own little cottage industry on RPGs. And just I mean, I like it because it's, if you're starting as a game designer, this is the way to go, right? Like, to get a project, get it completed, get it out the door, and get something completely done.
See, the
And
devil's doorbell, I'm like, oh, that's a piece of slang that I'm not sure this person's using.
yeah, but I like the design of it.
Okay.
It's certainly an eye-catching like title, right? Like, I mean, my mind just glazes off anything that says like, for one thing, I misread this initially. I thought that was like 5e. For a second, I was like, yeah. But you can load more. Horse majeure. Oh, that's done very well. This one is actually, I've heard about this. It's two people in a horse costume trying to find a delicious apple.
Oh, they've got a cartoon and everything.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, it's from an animator. So yeah, who's getting into game design, and
first created 172 backed. Respect.
Yeah. So
force tolerance meter.
Yeah. So you're working together, and you can do with multiple players, where there's a race to see who gets the apple first. And it's formatted as a zine. See, it's actually like an old school zine, and you can get a PDF or the print copy. And yeah, I was inspired by games like Honey Heist and Octodad. Octodad is a video game. It's one of those fumble core games where you're very clumsy, and you're an octopus who's also a father for a suburban family.
What is drink my? Do I want to know what drink my sweat is? Do I not want to know what drink my sweat?
Let's find out.
I guess I'm finding out.
Yeah, a storytelling game about a fight club for career women. Punch cuties, get messed up, fall in love, be fucking hot. Well, that's a good. I think the zines now are very focused. Like,
sure,
it's at least the successful ones. And it's not like Troll Crusher 1 or Unspeakable Oath, but yeah.
No, it's completely. I mean, the advantage of Kickstarter and search on the net is that if there are 200 people in the world who would be interested in your zine, they know where to find it now. And the route to market, I've talked about this before, has always been a problem with role-playing games. How do you let people know that your zine exists, and that your very specific role-playing game exists, and how they can get hold of it? This is one of the reasons that interactive fantasy didn't work. We knew there was an audience. We could not get the message out to them, and we could not get the product to them because it was the mid-90s and the internet barely existed. So alarms and excursions was one of the ways we tried to do it. We tried to enlist them. Didn't really work. Nothing worked. We lost a bunch of money. But yeah, that's one of the great advantages. You can find, an RPG that you would never have thought of, but that presses your buttons in all kinds of interesting ways. Or if you've got that itch at the back of your head, you can just bang it out into 16 pages or whatever. Oh, which is something that occurred to me about going for broke. Because this is it's a small package. I think there's something like 17 cards and a few sheets of paper. Comparing it to Yaziba's Bed and Breakfast, the free to download quick start guide to Yaziba's is 73 pages. I think the book itself is something like 400 or 500. These are not necessarily comparable projects, but they are interesting because they are trying to mimic the same kind of serial short form almost televisual thing, because Yaziba's is modeled on a kind of a sitcom, or it's in seasons, it's in episodes, but the other thing is they both come out of the transgender community. And I don't have any conclusions to draw about that. I just think it's interesting that really experimental, interesting game design is stuff that I would not have come up with either of these games.
If you are a person who is open enough to questions of, can a thing be different? Then sure. Yeah. Who else are you going to look to for radical reinvention of gaming? I mean, look at the Wachowskis and, radical reinvention of what movies were like.
I was just trying to scratch a bug off my monitor there until I realized it was Ross's cursor.
Oh yeah.
Ouch. Okay, so the thing
yeah.
Did you gentlemen read the rules to this?
No.
Okay,
I didn't even. I
and
missed it. I didn't even see it on the page.
I
it looks
did.
like
I read
there's
through
not
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
It looks like there's not too many future conditionals, but some. I don't know how the columns are balanced.
It's Avery. Avery is brilliant at concise, tight, well-considered rules description. I mean, think of the Quiet Year. The Quiet Year
Could be tighter.
I would say that this, because this is emulating a known form, the Quiet Year is trying to do something which at the time was radically different. There were no other games like it. You need more description, in the same way that Munchausen would not work at less than 24 pages.
The thing that got me in reading through the rules is I'm like, man, 45 minutes to play this. 45 minutes. Just, you get the ball, you shoot, the gun goes off and you're running down the track. And I'm like, I feel like and maybe it's entirely possible that in actual play, it's like, oh yeah, 45 minutes, bam, perfect. It's the sweet Goldilocks zone. But I worry that I would be just feeling pressure the whole time. It's like, I got to be faster. And I do not play role-playing games to have the sensation of velocity. So this is interesting. I think I'm going to back this as soon as we're done with the call here. So I would love it if if everyone. How many people have we got on this stream right now, Roz?
You can look out at the top left. It's 15 right now.
15. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, yeah. If we all backed it, that probably would not be it. It'd be a noticeable bump out of here.
Well, they're halfway through, so usually there's a rally at the end. So
this would be a bump happening in the doldrums.
The doldrums, yes, the crowdfunding doldrums. We all dread them, but they're inevitable.
Sucks. The slew of despond in the middle that makes you just.
Can
I just do it?
Has anyone backed my Kickstarter today? No.
Yeah. Oh no! One person canceled their pledge. Yeah, terrible.
It's a bit like checking drive-through. Has anyone bought any of my games today?
Oh, I just get.
Man, I would never. Yeah. I would never. You can. My mental health at the best of times is, not optimum, and I'm taking the sertraline and whatever. But if I started daily checking my drive-through, I would turn into a monster. My brain would decay. All I would do would be constant, very bad self-promotion. I would be far more obnoxious than I am right now. And yes, that is a threat. So yeah, I can't do it. I can't. It might make me a better businessman. It might make me a more profitable businessman, but it would make me a worse human being and a worse creator. So
yeah,
it's that business end of things again. If
and managing your mental health too. Yeah,
I mean, I would phrase it as the corruption from capitalism is inevitable. It corrodes everything it touches, and it touches everything. We're doomed. It's dragging us down to the pit. So that's going on. That's happening. Man, I made myself sad.
Yeah. I simply wouldn't do that. I do want to mention this big shout out to the Blighted Isle Terminus. Sarah Cole, who's in chat right now, is backing this.
Hi, Sarah.
And I've talked to her. I've actually helped her with her previous project, Darkened Hills and Dales, I believe. Hills and Dale, the Blighted Isles. And these are UK themed horror scenarios that are system free. This is the previous one. You can pre-order it now. Sarah's working to get the print books ready. And Terminus is about the tube. the London Underground, and it is a very interesting premise scenario, and it'll be full color. And look at this very nice artwork here that we have. So,
I dig the the mosaic.
Yeah. Let's see if there are any updates on here. There is one update. Successfully funded. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's something to check out. But yeah, let's. Greg just described red markets for us. Like, well, yeah. Speaking of which, red markets.
What was that? I missed.
Greg just described red markets, the role playing game for us.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about red markets because I've actually had a chance to run the new edition myself, the current edition of it, and I found it pretty interesting in terms of how running it. Like, so red markets. Let's see here. Pull up the main book here. Taker's Brief. Is this the right one? That is. Oh, that's the Taker's Brief. All right. So, here, let's see if I can pull this in. There we go. All right. So here's the summary of it. This is you could get the beta for free on drive-thru-rpg-itch.io. So, the main thing is Caleb has these useful charts for success and failure, and there are the one thing I do like now is negotiation. So in the previous edition of Red Markets,
the one thing you
well, I mean, the one thing when I ran Red Markets, many one shots of it, but I would skip negotiations and one shots, especially when I was running online, because in the previous edition there was this chart where you'd be moving dice back and forth along the slider scale to determine, you're pushing the price to the right to make it higher, and they're pushing back to make it cheaper. But now it's switched to this dice pool system where you have clients add chips, and each chip reduces your price for the job by 5 bounty, 5 money units. And then the takers add dice to the pool, which is 1d10, which you roll at the, to determine. So it's like 7d10 minus 4 chips. And that would be like what you would roll for it. And
that's brutal.
Yeah. And the thing is, yeah, it is brutal, but like players there's a whole thing about negotiations where every player can do something to improve how much money they're making, undercut competition, and add, remove chips, add more dice to their side. And I love this even in one shots because it sets the stakes of how desperate the player characters are when they go on the job. They're like, well, we're not making much money, we need to look for opportunities to make money along the way. And so you just like, oh, well, here's something dangerous. You found an unearthed survivalist bunker. It's been sealed up for 5 years. Do you want to go inside? Well, you open the hatch and it smells like death. Are you sure you want to go inside? It's like, well, there could be stuff down there that could be worth money. So yes, I'm going to go in the darkened metal pit. Dark metal box has been buried for 5 years to see what horrors are waiting for me, because there might be something I could sell. And yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to be running.
Why did these MREs smell like that?
Yeah,
all
don't worry
MREs
about it.
Smell like that? No, not all MREs smell like this. This smells like it was under a corpse. What?
Yeah.
Why would you? What? Where would I get corpse MREs? Do you know how crazy you sound right now?
Yeah. So I am running it right here on Twitch tomorrow at noon, and on YouTube on the same channels, running a score where the players figure out something that's worth a lot of money. They go and try and get as much of it as possible and bring it back. So
what is it that is worth a lot of money in the
players get to choose. There's a little thing where they can like negotiate and like, oh, I think, there's a big stash of MREs. So it's kind of like collaborative storytelling, because they all get to make up a rumor and then they roll to see which rumor is true. And sometimes I've done scores in the past where like you have to get Juiceros. There's a big stack of them because I watch
even in a nihilistic capitalist post-zombie apocalypse. Why would anyone want a Juicero?
So all right, so yeah, I'll pull this up because this is a very fun video.
Isn't it like definitionally useless? Just a useless thing? Yeah,
for the people who don't know, Juicero was a failed device from like, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago. Yeah, this is 7 years ago. So was like subscription pressed juice. And so they would have this device that would press juice bags for you, and would only do it if it had the right QR code on it. And so the thing is, this video is what I watch, is 41 minutes long, and it's this guy who just breaks it apart and tells you this is so over engineered. These parts are worth so much more money than what it costs. And so like, it's just classic Silicon Valley like hubris.
Yeah. And all it does is squeeze a pouch, and you need to buy the pouches separately. The pouches contain the fruit. The device just squeezes it. That's all it does.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There's
so you
no
can take
magic.
apart a Juicero, and the parts in the Juicero are worth more than the device itself, and can do many more things than the device itself can.
Well, in the yeah, that's what this guy did. Is like, buy them if you're competent taking them down, because all these parts are worth money, and you can just use them for other things. And like, obviously in the post-apocalyptic, something that's over engineered with a lot of good parts in it would be very valuable for scavengers and technicians and that kind of thing. So yeah, they had to just go out and get Juicero machines.
Wouldn't it be great if we lived in a smart dystopia instead of this one? Man, what a smart dystopia would be. Just like, we're all suffering, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah,
things got really bad because we wanted something that was worth anyway.
Yeah.
My transformation into crabby old man is nearly complete.
Yeah. But yeah, just very over engineered.
The youth has brought me a salad.
Oh.
I also want to mention a game I picked up from my friendly local game store. This is Punk is Dead.
Punk is Dead.
Yeah.
Compatible with Merkberg.
Yeah, it has really good art. And so I should probably turn off my let's see here. Original. There we go. Just very good stuff.
Also available on vinyl, apparently.
Yeah, let's see here. I could actually probably just switch. Oops. Trying all the different modes here. Here we go. Yeah. Very inspired by Merkborg. But yeah, let's take a look at the
if it's inspired by Merkborg, what is the weapon that gets its own 2-page spread? I'm gonna guess sawed-off shotgun.
Probably. It's Anarchy in the UK. And it is they are a bunch of nasty bastards who need a good ass kicking. Yeah, that's good. Oh, the microphone, of course. That would be the thing in there. Look at that. And
it's gonna be something.
Yeah, I like this. Oh, get in the van. Yeah. It's a very 7-inch for hard. Yeah, 7 inches a square book, so like a record.
No, the weapon won't be any kind of knife. It'll be steel toe capped Doc Martens.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at it. I just picked it up this afternoon. And oops, the wrong thing. And yeah, it just looks neat.
So, wait, what is on the record? Is it just someone reading the rules?
Yeah, let's see what the
go down. Who's on the add-ons? I imagine
add-ons. Bandmaster screen. Wait, I saw the record up here earlier. Original Punk is Dead song recorded by the Stereo Flowers.
Oh, okay.
And
all backers receive an MP3. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. And it's pretty neat. So yeah. So do you have any questions from the audience? Let me look up that. In the UK, not zombie knife 2-page spreads. Zombie knife? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Okay. What is a zombie knife?
That is what young drug dealers used to stab each other with in South London.
It's called a zombie knife?
It is a massively over-engineered knife. Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Google that.
So. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like a mall ninja weapon. You know about mall ninjas, right?
Oh, I've heard.
So okay. Oh, I see. Like you would have in a zombie
wow.
apocalypse. I see. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So this
And
reminds me of
the second hit for Zombie Knife after the Wikipedia is Zombie Tools from Missoula, Montana. Okie doke.
So mall ninjas, of course, come from a term. It's basically like 20 years ago or something. There was a guy who went on this gun forum, and he's like, "I'm a mall security cop, and if I'm in the parking lot and someone shoots at me with a sniper rifle, I'm worried about my back protection. What kind of trauma plates can I get?" And people are like, "What the hell are you talking about, man?"
What fucking mall is this?
Yeah, exactly. And this guy kept doubling down. He kept talking about how he had to go tactical 5x5, and I'm carrying ceramic plates in my briefcase so I can shield my head. We have a containing breakdown NEF single shot 300 Win Mag with an 18-inch barrel length. The plan is I shield this with my body and I catch the rounds while she assembles the rifle and lay down covering fire with my 23 bar stone 357 sig barrel, and she makes the long shots. And people like, what are you talking about? And he just would never. And so this idea of him being the term mall ninja came up, and it sort of becomes sort of catch all if anybody gets these over engineered tactical zombie slaying weapons. And I quite like them.
Wow.
There's of course also another thing called going back to VHS. There was a police training video called "Surviving Edged Weapons," and
with the second tripe.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh wow, it's very rare now. But like, it's let's see here. There we go. Surviving Edged Weapons. And there are rips of this on YouTube now, and it's totally ridiculous. Be warned, it's not safe for work. There are brief autopsy photos and very gross things like that, but like the other part are fun reenactments of the most over-the-top thing, like a Satanist charging somebody with a broadsword, or a scimitar, and it's just like, even a traffic stop could be lethal because they could have a knife in the gas cap and stab you in the cheek.
I mean, you want to hear the sort of martial arts version of this or insight. So at one point, I very early on, as a college student taking karate classes, they're like, oh, and here's how you can take a baseball bat away from someone who swings it at your head if you can get inside the radius and get inside their arms. And so we're doing this thing and it's just working really smooth. And they're like, yeah, this used to be a sword takeaway, but nobody carries swords anymore. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I could see how this works. I see how this works. I could do this. I could take a baseball bat away from someone. I could take a sword away from someone. And then I saw a dude who actually knew what he was doing, who'd done Iato drawing and cutting the bamboo sticks. And, he's doing one of his forms. He pulls this around, just this steel blur. And I'm like, oh, no. I could not take a sword away from a person if a person was waving a sword around and I tried to take it away from them. I would have red coleslaw hands. There would be nothing left of me. I would bleed right out. So, surviving edged weapons, run away from it.
Basically,
they are not going to be able to run very fast carrying that. They might poke themselves.
And you can have a knife anywhere. You can conceal it anywhere.
But I'm thinking the actual sword. I'm like, have you ever tried to run?
This is the
you shouldn't even run with scissors.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my god, this is absolutely. I'm gonna have to put this into an Unknown Armies something or a short story somewhere. Is guys running away from the cultist with the knife, and the cultist runs, trips, falls, kills himself with it.
The deadpan narration of that video is great because they'll show a reenactment of a guy screaming, charging the cops with a machete. And it's like, some signs of danger are very obvious, and like it's very ridiculous. Before we, James, were there any Zine Quest or new projects, crowdfunding, or that, or just in general that you've seen that you want to talk about before we? Because we've been talking about, just the random things on here. But yeah,
there's, I mean, the only one that's really kind of piqued my interest is Vincent and Meggie Baker are running I can't even remember what it's called, but they're describing it as a party game, party RPG. Runs in 1 to 3 hours. I'm assuming that means it's really like mechanics, probably zero prep or minimal prep. I am wary of the whole idea of party RPGs, because it might work if everybody at the party is a role player and into the idea of role playing, but it's Vincent Baker, it's the Bakers. It's they are, I'm not going to say superstars, but they are at the top of the game when it comes to pushing the envelope and making new forms work. So I'm intrigued to see what they do with this and where it goes, and whether it acquires any kind of critical mass and moves forward in people's consciousness as a design influence or as a commercial form. Rather than just a kind of a curio that in 10 years' time we go, oh, remember that? Oh, I never played it. Apart from you, Ross, you will have played it. You will have played a campaign of it, obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
A campaign of parties across the Midwest. Playing every available scenario.
I mean, in every campaign, we have at least one dinner party scene, so we do have that going for us.
There you go.
I think this is it. In Dreaming Avalon, a role-playing game.
That's the one.
That's the one. Take the part of an Arthurian knight or a Shakespearean fairy meeting in the orchards of Dreaming Avalon for an idyll of feast, joust, dancing, masks, and light-hearted romance. 3 or more players, designed for a mix of role players and non-role players, and it plays in the same time and space as a board game or card game. And interesting. It's a collection of a dozen scene-length mini games. Introduce your character, then take turns around the circle. Choose one of the following games, and everybody plays. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Different little mini games.
Yeah, I can see it's almost kind of a meta game. It's a game that kind of fits on top of another game, whether that's a role-playing game or in this case, it sounds more like a board game or a card game or a more conventional social party game. John Tynes inevitably did one. It was called Power Kill, and we published it as part of our book alongside Puppetland. And his idea was that you are all patients undergoing therapy, I believe in a prison setting, because you've all done a bad thing, unspecified. And so there's like 10 minutes at the start of the session and 10 minutes at the end of the session where you role play these people, and then you play your regular role-playing game in the middle, which is a brilliant concept. And I suspect actually
that, if you went into a dungeon and slew some orcs, it's like, no, you did not go into a dungeon and kill some orcs. You went into a public housing unit and killed some people.
Oh, right.
Which, boy, thinking about it, ties a little bit into the famous in media res from The Unspeakable Oath,
which we'll be reviewing sooner or later.
In the season,
It all ties.
No spoilers, Greg.
I'm really intrigued by this idea of doing mini games in RPGs, because like the one I like, Redmark, which I was just talking about, like the negotiations is basically a mini game, right? And having a game of mini games can work. Not always. I was just thinking, there's a famous video game series, the Yakuza games. In Yakuza games, you're playing a Yakuza gangster in Japan usually, and you're mostly fighting and beating up other guys. But like, it's famous for having a huge amount of mini games in it, and that's very popular.
Fishing, is this where the fishing thing came from?
No, I mean fishing is. There's so many games to do. I doubt Yakuza definitely has fishing in it, but I don't. I don't think it does. I don't think it started. Yeah.
No,
one of our viewers has said Violence had that exact example back in the day. So I may have gotten Violence and Power Kill confused. Which
so they were similar concepts. Violence was just, Violence, it's right there front and center. It's designed to be utterly in your face and unavoidable. Whereas Power Kill is more of it's a clever idea, but I don't think what Tynes was doing with it was exploring the idea of, how is it, what are we doing within these fantasy games? It was more kind of the idea of, this is a meta game. How would a meta game, well, certainly that's why we wanted to publish it. It's a meta game. It's a new way of approaching what is a role-playing game. What we can do with the role-playing form, we can structure it in this really interesting way, which is why we did. But yes, there was an overlap, and I remember thinking about it at the time. Should we do both? We did them a year apart, I think. But yeah, it's yes.
So yeah, that's very cool. This has totally slipped under my radar. I had no idea. I probably will back probably at the PDF level, just so I can get a copy of it. I might wait till. I mean, I'm sure this will probably be a Gen Con, which I am planning to go this year. And if you're going to Gen Con, post on our Discord, because we have a Discord set up for people just going to Gen Con, so we can coordinate. Because the housing lotto starts tomorrow.
Oh Lord!
And fortunately, one of my friends has a very important game badge, so he was able to book a second room for me, my partner, and Caleb and Sarah. But for everybody else, they're like, well, good luck, everyone, because some people are getting like, right at noon, right when the it opens up, and I'm like, mine was at like 4:30, so it's like, good luck. The housing lottery, if you're not familiar, is basically like they have more people than rooms available.
That's a mini game.
Yeah, that is
the Gen Con mini game, getting accommodation.
And then you got to plan out. Yeah, Gen Con is nothing but mini games if you think about it. You got to plan out your schedule and like figure out like your budget and like how many times what events you're going to go to. Like
where are people drinking? Where are the people you want to avoid drinking?
Yeah, are you going to go for a big meal? Are you going to go to like the Brazilian steakhouse place? Or are you going to go? Or are you just going to eat cheap all the time?
So someone said, I look forward to never being able to attend Gen Con. I mean, it's a great. It's not like anything else, but I don't know. In a post-COVID world, I'm like,
oh no, that's fair. And it's also like in America, which is not cheap for everybody to go to, and a lot of people may not want to go to America for numerous reasons.
For whatever,
because your planes keep crashing, for God's sake.
That's true.
I mean, I wouldn't fly anywhere these days either.
Yeah. I think my old boss considered a convention. If I had an idea for a board game, and that would be basically Takedo, but as a gaming convention. Takedo, if you're not familiar, is a great role-playing game.
Takedo,
I think
role-playing game.
No, it's a board game.
Antoine Bowser, yeah.
Yeah, and so basically you're just Japanese people on a little trip. And it's basically how nice of a time can you have as you're going from one place to the other. And so you can stop and paint pictures, you can eat various foods, you can buy various souvenirs. And the thing is, you're always going forward. You can never go back. And you can move as many spaces as you want. You just can't, only so many people can be on one space at a time. So you could do the same thing with a gaming convention, except it's days, right? Like every day you're just progressing in time rather than distance. And so like, do you go to the wait in line to get its autograph? Do you go buy stuff? Do you go play games? And you're just racking up victory points on that kind of thing. So
and so me being the morbid creature that I am, the thought that immediately I'm like, what you need to intersect in this is a con crud mechanic where how have you gotten sick yet? How sick are you? Are you doing things even though you're sick?
You could do so many things. Also, like with larger conventions too, it's like, well, yeah, you could just have bad luck. Like, oh, you have to go all the way back to your hotel room because all the bathrooms in the convention center are just destroyed. They're just awful. There's a lot of fun.
One of the things going to GameholeCon, I'm like, these are the least disgusting bathrooms I've ever seen at any.
There are advantages to smaller cons.
Yeah, it was amazing. They weren't gross at all. It was like being in normalcy.
Oh my god. So anyways, Takedo is it's a classic board game. It's very fun. You should definitely play it. But you could totally rework a similar system for a game for a convention, and just like, you know, and you could have like different things where you get secret victory points because you're really into getting autographs, or really getting into playing games, or like, yeah. But yeah, it's very fun. Showering at least once a day. Yeah, exactly. Please shower. Jeez.
Please shower.
Yeah.
That's not funny. That's hurtful.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. I own Takedo. Yeah, I'll wheel it out some. Yeah, Takedo is a great game. But yeah. But anyways, yeah, check out Zine Quest if you haven't already. There's still a couple days left for most of those zines. I'm gonna check out In Dreaming Avalon because that looks like a lot of fun. And don't forget Greg. Greg has Thing. It's Moon Silver Crown by Greg. Yes. And here's the landing page again. Greg's new fantasy serial. And is there a way for a person to get all of it at once in one easy thing, or do they have to buy all the stories? Okay.
Once I get enough, I will probably start selling them bundled at a price. I might do it at a price break, but you know, there's only 6 so far.
Okay.
So you can just
so keep that in mind. It is on gregstolze.com. And we have always
worth a look.
In Letter and Air, we should be posting our next episode hopefully tomorrow or Monday.
Monday. Yeah, I'm still doing the show notes. Show notes coming together. Going to be really good.
Yeah, Paranoia, Yellow Clearance, Black Box Blues. And then of course we have we just recorded we've already done Cyberpunk Red, and then we just recorded Black Chrome, the Cyberpunk Gear Guide, and yeah, so we're trucking along, and yeah, but that's I think all I got.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Thank you all so much for supporting the Kickstarter, and don't forget to join our Ludonarrative Discord, which is on Ludonarrativedissidents.com, which is a website you can go to. And yeah. And yeah, so good night, everybody. And hey, just back Terminus. Good job, Dan. Yeah, it's you won't be disappointed. It's a cool adventure. So anyways, but that's it. We'll talk to you later.